Rockets trade reports are heating up as a new report reveals a blockbuster trade for the Rockets to add a young Memphis superstar to this already talented team that claimed the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Welcome into Rockets Digest. I'm Jace Andrews, and let's get right to the trade because I know that's all what you clicked on the video for. It is for Ja Morant, and this time you'll also include Jay Huff in the deal. The Grizzlies will receive Fred VanVleet, Cam Whitmore, and a 2025 first-round pick via Phoenix and a 2028 first-round pick. Top 4 projected value in that 2028 first-round pick. And before we get going, before you hear my take, hit the subscribe button because there is just going to be more and more and more reports like these for the Houston Rockets. They have young stars, they have assets to trade, and you do not want to miss anything the Houston Rockets and Rafael Stone are about to do this offseason. So join us for the offseason and hit that subscribe button. What an absolute idea for a trade this would be. Ja Morant is a prolific scorer with the Memphis Grizzlies. He's had some on-the-court issues with certain, let's say, celebrations, we'll call it. But overall, this guy's a superstar right now in Memphis, averaging 23 points this year, only just 25 years old. The report there that is the craziest part to me is the details of this trade. Obviously, the stats for Ja Morant are there. The pedigree is there. But you're not giving up Jalen Green. You're not giving up Alperen Şengün. You're not giving up Jabari Smith Jr. even to that point. You're giving up Fred VanVleet, which is an interesting topic that we'll have to kind of discuss his contract, what would need to happen for him to be quote-unquote tradable, and then Cam Whitmore, who I'm going to go into in a little bit, and I think people are very much undervaluing Cam Whitmore into the future of the Houston Rockets, and I think is a really big piece into why Rafael Stone in his last media availability said that they want to kind of keep this team as whole as possible going into 2025, the 2026 season, plus a first-round pick in this year's absolutely crazy to give up, but we're going to talk about it all in this video, and again, we appreciate having you. So kind of lots to dissect in this. Let's kind of start with the why, at least for the Houston Rockets, and this is what they have in the description of why the Rockets should do this. Houston's failure to launch this postseason was directly tied to its offensive deficiencies. The Rockets only averaged 93.3 points in their 4 losses versus Golden State, which is an unattainable number for a defense as feisty as theirs, which is a fair point to make. The offense was just not there for the Houston Rockets, and whether that's Jalen Green not performing to the level that we expect him to, whether that's just the defense being so good that the offense never really had to perform in a way like it did, and the pressure was on it in the postseason, that's neither here or there. The series has already happened, and a lot of people are talking about how the Rockets are going to have to be better in the upcoming season and how the offense is going to have to switch and kind of get a little bit better, and that could easily come for a trade. So we continue on here. Why the Rockets should do this trade, saying, quote, finding an offensive focal point could unlock this group's championship potential. Morant would not only fill that void, but he also happens to be on the same timeline as the Rockets' young core. And since he's had some availability issues in recent years, Houston might be able to add him without fully depleting his asset collection, end quote. This all coming from Zach Buckley on Bleacher Report. And I think he makes an interesting point there that I really want to dive into real quick. Because of Ja Morant's recent availability struggles for the Memphis Grizzlies, he is a superstar that is not going to cost, in my mind, I know VanVleet is a lot to give up and first-round picks are a lot. He's not going to cost superstar value as Giannis would attain, as KD would attain, as Devin Booker would attain. That's not going to be the same pass-through. Fred VanVleet is a great player, do not get me wrong. But if I'm trading him for Ja Morant, I'm doing that every single day. Cam Whitmore in the first-round picks included. We add that in, it's a different conversation. But if you look at this trade from a kind of outsider perspective, the real name brand that everybody's going to look at is VanVleet for Morant. I think I take that trade at face value. Overall, though, Morant is not going to cost what it would be to get, like I said, Giannis or really anybody to that pedigree. And so if you look at just a lot of different things in so many different aspects, it's something that you could definitely look at for the Houston Rockets and really reminisce on seeing this team get into an offensive focal point next year. And that's exactly what I go into with this next quote here, saying that if Memphis moves on from Morant, it probably won't want to take back a fully future-focused package. not when Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. are still around to lead this competitive roster. Now, this is the why for the Grizzlies, as we've kind of switched to that topic, because obviously we've talked about trades for the Rockets standpoint, but I think it's very important to include that the other team also has to agree to this. That has to be a point in this. You cannot be this one-sided trade that the Rockets think is great, but the other side is like, why would they move on from Ja Morant? That makes no sense. That's why you move on from Ja Morant. And I want to go into more here. If the Grizzlies move Morant to Houston specifically, they would not remiss to tap into the Rockets' rich asset collection. They'd fetch an uber-athletic 20-year-old in Whitmore, a current lottery pick that Houston would only move after leading the lottery results. Obviously, that is going to be a very big thing. We have those results coming out this week with the lottery. So if that is not where the Rockets want it, that becomes a little bit more of a tradable asset, plus a protected first-round pick, obviously, coming up in a couple of years from now. So kind of a bunch of different things to really look at and in some ways digest. But VanVleet is a lot to give up. I mean, I'm going to be straight honest, and that's where I want to kind of look at this trade, again, from a holistic standpoint and go into the VanVleet details. So VanVleet, who contributed to the Toronto Raptors championship run in 2019 and has made 59 career playoff appearances, could up the competitiveness and give guidance on what's required to win at the highest level for the Memphis Grizzlies. And that's a very interesting point as well. VanVleet, who obviously has somewhat done that for the Rockets, he's come in and said, hey, I'm going to be the leader. I was with the Raptors. He had a great postseason here with the Houston Rockets. He was the top player in the postseason when you compare his stats to the entirety of all 7 games for all the other players. He was definitely the main focal point. And there's a couple games where I kind of think, I'm not going to say the game, but you know which one, wish he would have taken the last shot and not a certain Şengün guy. So that's kind of my thing. Not saying Şengün is a bad player. However, when he's going against Draymond Green, I'm going to give it to the hot hand and Fred VanVleet and let him take the shot. Besides the whole point, VanVleet is a veteran presence that people will want. There's a lot of problems with the Fred VanVleet contract, though, and how exactly it is with so many different things and how exactly this is all going to work. So this is where we go to a new report here from Shams Charania. This came out this week. The Rockets and Fred VanVleet, they pushed back their deadline to June 29th on his $44.9 million team option for the 2025-2026 season. Now, both sides are going to have additional time to kind of discuss the options and maybe potentially signing a long-term deal in Houston. And so what would have to happen for him to be a tradable asset for the Rockets to go in this package for Ja Morant? Well, there's a couple things. I think for this, he could take that team option. I think it would make the trade a little less valuable for Memphis, but I'm not saying they're not going to do it because it's going to be worth $44 million next year. But to make this trade, I'm going to say unavoidable for Memphis to the point where if you offer it to them, if this is what you want, I don't think they can say no, is by signing Fred VanVleet to a team-friendly deal, having him opt out of this contract by saying, we want you. But the problem is with the Rockets' standpoint, if they say you're going to opt out of this deal, we're going to sign you, and then we're going to trade you, that would almost lead Fred VanVleet to say, if I'm going to opt out, I'm not going to sign back if you're going to trade me. Now, there's a lot of things that can go into that, so that's a big point of contention in this. That's not to say that he could easily accept the team option and immediately be traded to the Memphis Grizzlies, or not accept the team option, sign a team-friendly deal, and the Rockets say, sorry, it's business. We're going to give you to the Memphis Grizzlies. It's not going to matter when I give you my full take. I don't think they should make this trade. If you look at the outside perspective, and I'm curious for your perspective, what do you believe in this trade? Do you think this is something that the Rockets should take? The Rockets shouldn't take. I'll give you a quick, again, look at this trade. Ja Morant, Jay Huff for Fred VanVleet, Cam Whitmore, 2025 first-round pick via Phoenix, which, again, if that first-round pick is Cooper Flagg, no way in heck that pick is going, and no way in heck the Rockets are trading anybody. They're going to immediately sign Fred VanVleet to a team-friendly deal. They're going to draft Cooper Flagg, and they're going to run this back next year. Now, they also would include a 2028 first-round pick, which is top 4 protected, so very mildly protected if the Rockets, for whatever reason, fell off a cliff in the next 3 years and became a top 4 team in the lottery again. That pick could come back to them. So lots of things to discuss, but also Whitmore. He's a very interesting guy when we talk about it. I know that this was not mentioned as much because he's been thrown around as an easy trade option, but he was a top 5 projected draft pick on draft night. And the Associated Press final mock draft had him going at number 5 overall. This guy's 6'7", averaging 12.5 points in Villanova, a very big basketball school, who, by the way, now has a pope. Crazy. What a world we live in. But besides the point, number 20 is what the Rockets got him for. Pick number 20 for what was a top 5 projected pick. That's a lot to give up. That is such an enormous amount to give up on when you saw what this team is capable of this year. Yes, Jalen Green had a bad playoffs. But if you can get Fred VanVleet to a team-friendly deal, and then you're able to get a top pick in this upcoming NBA draft, I'd be hard-pressed to say that any trade's going to happen besides for maybe a lower-tier player. I'm not saying Ja Morant's in that facet. I don't think he is. It really just depends on these next 5 days. And for that matter, probably the next month and a little bit. Because a month from now will be about 15, 16 days away from the decision from Fred VanVleet. We will be past the lottery at that point. We'll know what the pick is. It becomes a very interesting topic and point of contention after that lottery is picked. Because if that is not a good pick, or at least not to what the Rockets expected, be on the lookout. That pick could be easily traded. We've talked so many times the Rockets are a win-now team. And if that pick is not going to be a player that's going to immediately jump onto this roster and make an immediate impact, I'd be hard-pressed to say the Rockets aren't going to think at least about trading it. So we'll have to wait and see, but I want to know your thoughts on this topic in the comment section. Let me know, is Ja Morant worth the trade? Do you want to get rid of Fred VanVleet? Do you think he should stay? All your thoughts, get in there. I'm reading them. I'm trying to respond. I'm trying to at least like them all and just kind of talk Rockets ball with y'all. That's the best part about this is we're just talking Rockets ball, and I want you to be a part of it. So we appreciate you, though, and if you made it to the end of the video, you obviously enjoy the content. We're getting a lot of views lately, and I want you to be a part of this movement. Already to 100 subscribers, and we're just going to keep on going. So join the movement now, and for now, we'll see you next time here on Rockets Digest. Peach out, H-Town.